Part 42. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 411. Seeing that Yun 11 was so sure and knew the name of the Dragon Emperor's son clearly, everyone in the hall couldn't help but believe it. After all, it is difficult to understand this kind of thing unless you have real contact with it. At this time, the director of the Sky Survey Department stood up and said, "Lord Territory Lord, the Dragon Emperor did come to our northern territory to find his son. It's just that he stayed here after being frustrated for thousands of years." I think 90% of what Yun 11 said is true. The more he looked at this subordinate, the more he liked her. As her superior, he naturally wanted to protect her. As for whether he might be a traitor, the director of the Sky Patrol Department still felt a little repelled by the word. After all, no superior wants to see one of his subordinates betray the Empire. If this spreads out, the reputation of his Northern Territory Sky Patrol Division will be ruined. This is a big deal, so don't define it yet. Just as Hong Yan was about to ask another question, a guard outside the door came in and reported, "Lord Territory Lord, the spies guarding outside the restricted area came to report that a big demon personally escorted a young man out of the restricted area." Huh? Where did that boy go? Upon hearing the news, everyone in the hall stretched their necks. Yun 11's body trembled slightly and she looked at the person who made the report. He should have gone to Hongluan City. Hongluan City? What is he doing there? Yun 11, do you know? Yun 11 nodded slightly and said, "I heard him talking to himself. He wants a lot of bloodstones. I guess he is going to the Blood River. The teleportation array in Hongluan City leads to the Blood River. Send an order to immediately send people to Hongluan City to arrest Suren." "Yes, Lord Territory Lord." Seeing the person who reported the report leaving, the director of the Sky Patrol Department bowed again and said, "Lord Territory Lord, it seems that the Dragon Emperor of the restricted area has something to do with Suren. The fact that he can send a big demon to personally escort Suren out of the restricted area is enough to prove the extraordinary relationship between them." Hong Yan looked at the person on his left. "Brother Bai, did Mu Taoist explain anything?" "There are some, but not many. However, they came to Biwu Star this time to save Suren. If an elder can take action personally, the relationship between Suren and the Wushuan alliance looks extraordinary." After hearing this, Hong Yan's expression turned cold. "Humph, then Suren is a sinner, so it is normal for him to be associated with the Wushuan alliance. I have long suggested that your majesty should kill these criminals, but your majesty doesn't know what he is thinking about and has been reluctant to take action. Yun 11, do you know what kind of strength Suren is now? Returning to the territory lord, you should be in the upper 6 realms. Shangliajing, such a young Shangliajing. No wonder the Wushuan alliance sent an elder to save him. Such a genius must be killed as soon as possible. If he is allowed to grow, there will be endless troubles." Director of the Sky Survey Department and Director of the Supervision Department, listen to the order. My subordinate is here. I order you two to go to Hongluan City immediately to surround and kill Suren. I don't need to see his person, I just want his body." "Yes, Lord Territory Lord." The two took the order and left. Hong Yan looked at Yun 11 again. At this time, his expression was no longer serious, but he said with a smile, "Okay, Yun 11, you are in danger this time, but you have not embarrassed the Empire. Although you are a woman, you are not inferior to men. You first go to the place I arranged for you to stay and have a good rest for 2 days. In a few days, I will personally arrange a video projection in the entire Northern Territory to let you tell how the criminal killed your companions and how he brutally killed the entire Star Destroyer fleet of the Empire. You don't have to be afraid. Just do what I tell you when the time comes. By now, Hong Yan no longer cares whether Yun 11 betrays the empire. He just needs Yun 11 to do as he says. He's just a small person, as long as he has value, he doesn't care about the rest. Hearing Hong Yan's words, Yun 11 nodded slowly. Lord Territory Lord, can I see my parents? I miss them. Haha, of course, I will arrange for them to come and visit you. Don't worry, you have provided so much information and you are now a hero of the Empire. I believe they will be proud of you. Thank you, Lord Territory Lord. Yun 11 knew that although she seemed to be the hero, she was actually just a subject under house arrest and suspicion. Okay, here, send Miss Youngzi to the Eula courtyard to rest. Send more people to protect her. Don't neglect her. After Yun 11 was sent away, Hong Yan walked to the courtyard and looked at the officials, big and small, and said, starting from today, the whole area will be under martial law. We will send people to keep an eye on the Biwa restricted area. If there is any slightest sign of trouble, you must report it to me. Yes, Lord Territory Lord. Hong Yan raised his head and looked in the direction of the Biwa restricted area. Dragon Emperor, you insist on getting involved with the Wushuan Alliance, so don't blame us. The day His Majesty comes out of confinement will be the day you die. Biwa Star, Hongluan City. The entire city is in red, and a fiery red artificial Luan bird spreads its wings on the tallest building in the center of the city. After Suren arrived in the city, there were already a large number of people manning the place to conduct martial law and interrogation. Although Suren did not have the identity of the Northern Territory, he kept his word and said, "You can't see me." No matter how many martial law officers saw him along the way, they would treat him as if they hadn't seen him. Not long after, Suren arrived near the teleportation point leading to the Blood River. Activate the teleportation array to the Blood River. Suren looked at the person guarding the teleportation array in front of him and said softly, "I don't have any spirit stones with me today." The guard replied mechanically, "How much?" 30 pieces. Suren took out 30 spiritual stones and handed them to him. This person finished placing the spirit stones. After Suren stepped on them, the light of the teleportation array lit up. The next moment, Suren's figure disappeared. After Suren left, a middle-aged man came over suspiciously and asked, "Aren't you going to Blood River for 50 spirit stones? When did the price drop?" The guard looked at him strangely. "Are you sick? When is it 30 spiritual stones? It has always been 50 spiritual stones that are sent once." After the guard finished speaking, he was still a little confused. How did this guy know that it only took 30 spiritual stones to teleport? As for the extra 20, they are naturally the profits earned by their Chamber of Commerce. The teleportation arrays in various places were purchased from the government through bidding by the major chambers of commerce. Of course you want to make money. Hey, I clearly saw that boy spend 30 spirit stones and teleport away. Do you think I'm blind? Are you looking for trouble? I've been here all morning. How can anyone take the teleportation array to the Blood River today? Not to mention today, not many people have gone to Blood River in the past few months. Get out now, or I'll report you to the police." The middle-aged man wanted to say something else, but when he saw the guard's sharp eyes, he thought about it and decided not to. Damn, he is such a black-hearted businessman. He can earn 20 spiritual stones at once. The young man just now must be one of theirs. The middle-aged man cursed and left. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 412. Sky Empire, Emperor Star. In a luxurious and huge palace. Your Highness the Second Prince, Hong Yan was seriously injured in the battle with the Dragon Emperor, and now the remnants of the Wushuan Alliance in the Northern Territory are resurrected. Huh? Is the information accurate? When the strange man in the hall heard the news, a terrifying light burst out from his eyes. "Your Highness, it's absolutely true." The person who reported the report knelt on the ground tremblingly, not daring to look at the person in front of him. Emperor Kongtian had 3 sons and 1 daughter. The eldest son died in infancy, leaving only 2 sons and 1 daughter. These 2 princes were murderous by nature and violent and unpredictable. They neither dared to get angry nor speak out. Moreover, this is the territory of the Sky and Sky Empire, and they cannot escape even if they want to. Facing the second prince every day, many people have already suffered mental breakdown and gone crazy. Most of those who can bear it are those who are fairly determined. Ha ha ha, okay, our opportunity has finally come. Hongyan has no way to govern the Northern Territory, so I should take the position of Lord of the Northern Territory. Take my troops and set off for the Northern Territory immediately. Yes, Your Highness. The person who reported it breathed a sigh of relief and quickly got up and ran outside. Biwistar, Hongluan City. Although Suren used his words to avoid the officers and soldiers under martial law, he was still captured by surveillance cameras. Although they didn't know what means Suren used to hide this from these officers and soldiers. But after seeing that Suren had indeed gone to the Blood River, the 2 division chiefs immediately ordered a blockade around the teleportation array. They are going to wait and see. If Suren had not died in the Blood River, this would be the only way back to the Northern Territory. They just had to wait for Suren to plunge into their siege. The other end of the teleportation array. As soon as Suren stepped out of the teleportation array, he felt a strong smell of blood coming from him. As soon as he took a breath, his head felt swollen and his limbs were numb. This is the blood evil energy that Yun 11 said can turn people into puppets. This power cannot be underestimated. Suren quickly closed his breath, but there was still a trace of blood evil energy entering his body. If you stay in this place for a long time, you will definitely be controlled by the Blood River. Suren looked ahead and saw a small town made of stone. To be precise, it was a deserted town. The entire town was shrouded in red mist, and there was only one stone road dyed red on the ground. No one lives in the stone houses on both sides, and of course there is no way anyone can live here. As Suren walked along the road of the town, the red mist became thicker and thicker. "Young man, are you going to the Blood River?" A sudden voice sounded in front of Suren. An old man wearing a bamboo hat stood in the middle of the road holding a fishing rod, looking at Suren intently. Suren nodded. "Yes, senior, do you know the way?" "Road? What road?" The old man's hoarse voice sounded. "The way to Blood River, of course." The old man laughed strangely when he heard this. "You are in the Blood River now. Where are you going to find the way to the Blood River?" Suren looked up at the sky, and it turned out that he was already in the river of blood. But it's normal to think about it. The Blood River traverses the universe, and its area is probably billions of billions times larger than that of a human being. It is normal to be in it without knowing its full picture. At this time, the old man finished laughing, looked at Suren again and said, "Is it your first time? If you're going to come here to collect bloodstones, then go back." "Why?" "Because this blood river is almost drying up, and the bloodstones have long since disappeared." "Dried up? Is the blood river really a river?" The old man nodded and shook his head. "It's a river and it's not a river. Anyway, if you want to collect bloodstones, go to another blood river. There is no more here." Suren looked at him puzzled and said curiously, "Since there is no more bloodstone, what are you doing here, senior?" "Me? Of course I'm fishing." Suren became even more confused after hearing this. Before he asked carefully, the old man said, "I don't believe it by your looks. Come with me and I'll take you fishing." Suren thought that he had come here, but he wanted to see what kind of medicine the old man was selling. The two of them walked towards the outside of Shijhen, one behind the other. The two of them walked like this for half an hour, during which neither of them spoke. The old man walked alone, while Suren followed him. Although the two of them were walking, their speed was extremely fast. Finally, the old man stopped. The red mist here became thinner, and the surrounding things could be seen clearly. A blood-red pond appeared in front of the two of them. The old man glanced at Suren and said with a smile, "Young man has good feet. Senior is also getting stronger with age. Haha, I'm old, not as good as you young people." When the old man walked to the edge of the pond, he didn't see him making a nest or hanging bait. He just casually waved the fishing rod and threw the hook end into the pond. Then he found a random place and sat down cross-legged. "Senior, don't you use bait. Fishing with sincerity will catch the fish, so why use bait?" Seeing his calm and confident look, Suren stopped asking any more questions. Instead, he imitated him and sat cross-legged and watched. Several hours passed after the sitting. Suren also used the river god skill to examine the blood-red pond. Not to mention fish, there wasn't even a single aquatic plant inside. "Little friend, you disturbed the fish." The old man turned to look at Suren, with an indescribable smile in his eyes. Suren was shocked when he heard this. Did this person actually know that he used the river god skill? But he just used the river god skill to explore the pond, and there was not even a single wave of water during this period. "Senior, there are no fish in here." Suren looked into his eyes and replied. The old man smiled and shook his head. "No, there is a fish in here, and the fish will be hooked soon." Hearing this, Suren looked at the float. The float shook first, and then was suddenly pulled into the water. "Look, the fish is coming." Suren used the river god skill again to watch without believing in evil. There was nothing at the fish hook, no fish. At this time, the old man held the fishing rod and exerted a little force. A splashing sound was heard from the pond, and the entire water surface of the pond started to move. A red-tailed carp surfaced, its body still struggling. But its struggle seemed to be in vain. The old man just lifted the fishing rod lightly, and the carp was thrown to the shore. "Look, isn't this just a fish?" Suren looked at the carp caught on the shore, a trace of disbelief flashing in his eyes. "Could it be that I have entered this person's illusion?" Suren reached out to pick up the carp, only to find that it had stopped moving after being caught. "It's dead," Suren said softly. The old man smiled again when he heard this, took the fish, looked at it and said slowly, "I can make it come alive." As soon as the old man finished speaking, the fish in his hand began to jump alive again. Seeing the other party's ability to create something out of nothing and reverse life and death, Suren actually felt for a moment that he was seeing himself. Moreover, he has mastered the perfect way to speak and speak. "You." Suren looked at the old man, and for the first time there was a hint of fear in his heart. The old man threw the fish back into the pond, then looked at Suren and asked, "My little friend, if the fish dies, I can revive it, but what should I do if this world dies?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 413. The old man looked at Suren, with an indescribable meaning in his eyes. "Senior is joking, how can heaven and earth die?" Hearing Suren's answer, the old man shook his head. "Everything is born and dies. Nothing is eternal, it's just sooner or later. Just like this river of blood, it has been running for countless years and has witnessed the birth and death of countless lives, but it cannot escape the fate of drying up and dying after all. Now, do you still think that heaven and earth will not die? Senior, since you can't change it, just let nature take its course. Let nature take its course." The old man shook his head again. But, I want to change my destiny against fate. It's just that I can't do it anymore, so I can only rely on you for this matter. The old man glanced at Suren, and then his whole body turned into points of light and dispersed along with his fishing rod. When Suren looked again, there was only a pile of blood-red crystal-clear stones left on the ground. Bloodstone. Suren leaned over and picked up the stones on the ground, no more, no less, exactly 100, and they were all low-grade bloodstones. Coincidence? Or does he know that my level 6 mission is to get 100 low-grade bloodstones? Suren thought about the old man's uncanny ability and felt that the latter was more likely. Who is this person and why does he want to find me? Changing destiny against heaven and resurrecting the dead world. Suren couldn't understand that the other party's ability seemed to be even better than his current one. Jingling, Shika, have you seen this old man? Suren looked into the pet space. Where is the old man? Shika asked doubtfully. Jingling also echoed. You've been standing here for a few days, and there's no one else here. I thought you were going to achieve enlightenment here, so I didn't bother you. What? How many days has it been? Wasn't it just a few hours ago? Suren looked around in disbelief. He had spent only a few hours in his senses. Moreover, Suren was convinced that the old man really existed. Otherwise, how could he explain the bloodstone he left behind? It's impossible that 100 low-grade bloodstones just appeared in front of him, right? It's just been the past few days. What's wrong with you? Are you okay? How about you get out quickly? Staying in the blood river for a long time will affect your sanity. Jingling felt that Suren had become a little abnormal at this time, and she did not even dare to say what Suren was talking to himself there. I'm fine. Looking at the bloodstone in his hand, Suren summoned the job transfer temple. After entering the temple, Suren found that there was no movement in the temple, like a body that had lost its soul. What's going on? How can I change my job? System, come out. Ding. The conceptual God system has been awakened. What are the host's needs? Stop pretending and transfer your job to me immediately. Yes, the job transfer has begun. As the system sound fell, the bloodstone in Suren's hand disappeared. After half a minute. The 6th turn has been completed, and the skill point ×1 has been obtained. Suren felt the condition of his body and became much stronger, but that was not important. What was important was how to upgrade next. After leaving Blue Star, there is no longer the concept of upgrading, but only the improvement of realm. System, how can I reach the lower 7th realm? Ding. The host can use raw energy stones, spirit stones, bloodstones, etc. to practice. After reaching perfection, the promotion mission will be triggered. Is this so? Suren simply took out many raw energy stones and spiritual stones and piled them next to his body. In an instant, the entire temple was covered with millions of raw energy stones and tens of thousands of spirit stones. Suren sat in it, feeling the abundant energy around him, and began to meditate with his eyes closed to absorb it. Biwa Star, Biwa City. Today is the day when Hongyan holds a live projection of the entire northern region for Yungzi. In the center of Biwa City, the stage has already been laid. There were even more people around, all of whom came here to see what the heroine of the Northern Territory was like. In Eula Courtyard, Hongyan personally brought people here. Where's Yun 11? When the guard saw Hongyan, he bowed and said, "Return to Territory, Lord, she is dressing up. She said she wants to look beautiful and not to disgrace the Northern Territory." Hongyan nodded when he heard this. "Well, tell her to hurry up." While Hongyan was waiting, an attendant came from a distance and reported softly. "Lord Territory, Lord, His Highness the Second Prince has brought his people to the Northern Territory and is now waiting to see you outside your residence." It seems that he doesn't take His Highness seriously. Your Highness, this is Hongyan's territory after all. Let's keep a low profile for now. Yun 11 seems to have become more beautiful without her armor. Well, are you familiar with the rhetoric I asked you to memorize these days? Lord Territory Lord, Yun 11 has come out. Everyone looked at the door on the second floor of the courtyard. Hongyan smiled when he heard this. There are rumors in the outside world that His Highness the Second Prince has been coveting the position of Northern Territory Lord for a long time. Now he comes just after you were injured. I am afraid his purpose is not pure. Humph. The Sky Empire belongs to our royal family, what does it have to do with his surname Hong? Yes, Lord Territory Lord. With gentle and slow steps, he walked downstairs with his accompanying maid. The attendant took the order and left. The second prince wanted to say more, but then he heard a voice that echoed through the sky. Lord Territory Lord, I'm afraid that His Highness the Second Prince is coming with bad intentions. Even people like Hongyan couldn't help but sigh inwardly after seeing this. What a peerless woman. At this time, the counselor behind Hongyan bowed and said, Thank you Lord Territory Lord, Yun 11 understands. Okay, let's go, the event will start soon. This, Your Highness, let's not overpower the local snake. Once we have caught him, we will make trouble for him again. Yoon Zijhen nodded slightly, but there was a touch of determination in his eyes that others could not see. Yun 11 is wearing a white flowing fairy dress, with a waist as thin as a willow wind, a slight blush on her face, and 3,000 black hairs draped softly behind her. I've met the domain lord. How dare this bitch Hongyan ask me to come to this busy city to wait for him? Very good, as long as you do as I say, your Yun family will be rich and prosperous, and will be passed down for thousands of years. Let him wait for me in the center of the city. Second prince. What is he doing here? Hongyan also knew the virtue of the second prince, so he did not blame the attendant. The attendant standing behind him reminded. Don't worry about him. The position of Northern Territory Lord is personally sealed by His Majesty. He doesn't have the ability to take it. The second prince sat on the upper right side of the stage and glanced at the crowded crowd below with a cold look in his eyes. Yun 11 walked up to Hongyan, bowed and said. This, subordinate didn't dare to ask. Yun 11 is already familiar with it. Lord Territory Lord is here. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 414. Everyone looked into the sky, and an airship flew across the sky towards the stage. After reaching the sky above the stage, a circular exit opens below the airship. A blue beam of light shines down and reaches the center of the stage. The next second two figures appeared on the stage. It was Hongyan and Yun 11. I've met the domain lord. The crowd chanted in unison. The sound spread to a great distance like ocean waves before stopping. The second prince glanced at Hongyan with squinted eyes, and then quickly turned his attention to Yun 11 beside him. Who is this woman? There is such a beauty in this northern region. The attendant behind the second prince bowed and replied. Back to your highness, this woman's name is Yun 11. It was she who risked her life to bring the news of the remnants of the Wushuan alliance. She is now revered as the goddess of Biwu by the people of Biwu city. The second prince heard this and stared at Yun 11. Haha, goddess Biwu? It's interesting. I wonder how it tastes. When the attendant behind him heard this, his face turned pale with fright, and he hurriedly said. Your Highness, please don't talk nonsense. There are tens of millions of people watching in Biwu city right now. There are so many people that one spittle can drown them all. You don't need to remind me, I know. On the stage, Hongyan raised his hand and pressed it down slightly. The shouting stopped immediately. Today, I invite everyone here just so that everyone can know from Yun 11's mouth how those damn criminals treated the people of the Empire cruelly and without repentance. The Empire provides them with a good environment and builds various access facilities for them, but in exchange they get hatred for the Empire. As citizens of the Empire, we should petition the Empire to destroy those criminals so that they will never be able to recover. After Hong Yan finished speaking, he looked at Yun 11 and said, Yun 11, boldly tell the story of how you and your companions were tortured, so that everyone can know the true face of those criminals. Yun 11 nodded. Yes, Lord Territory Lord, I will tell you everything I saw. Okay, then it's up to Yun 11 to tell what she saw and experienced. Hong Yan retreated to the side of the stage, leaving the entire stage to Yun 11 alone. Off the stage, countless pairs of eyes were staring at Yun 11 on the stage. Is this our Biwa goddess? She's even more beautiful than the one in the photo. I didn't expect her to be so brave. I don't know what kind of torture she suffered. When I think of this, I feel that those criminals really deserve to die. I will definitely be the first to support the Territory Lord in destroying those criminals. Since they don't know how to be grateful, we shouldn't keep them. Our kindness will only lead to their exaggeration. Listening to the discussions of these people in the audience, Yun 11 strengthened her determination. Hello everyone, my name is Yun 11. Half a month ago, I was just an ordinary patrol angel. When we heard that a colleague died on Blue Star, the superiors sent us to Blue Star to investigate. It's a blue planet, inhabited by humans the same as us. They are no different from us. Beyond the Blue Star, there is a kind of monster called the extraterrestrial demon. They infest the planet day and night. The people on Blue Star, in order to defend their homeland, built a barrier to resist monsters. They went on and spent hundreds of years on it. When Hong Yan heard this, he frowned slightly and said to Yun 11. What are you talking about? Focus on the key points. Yun 11 didn't pay attention to Hong Yan's words, but kept talking to herself. After the grandson of the director of the supervision department who accompanied me arrived at Blue Star, he destroyed the defensive shield they had worked so hard to build without explanation, and killed an old man who had guarded Tianguan for decades. After arriving at Blue Star, they destroyed a city because the people there disturbed their sleep, and they killed millions of people. The real villains are not them, but us. We are the guilty ones. Put aside your prejudices and really get to know them. They are also living people like us. They should not be treated like our cage. Yun 11, what are you talking about? Hong Yan roared angrily, reached out and grabbed Yun 11 back from the air. But, she even risked her life. Can she even risk her life to lie? The second prince looked at the scene and couldn't help but clapped his hands. Yun 11 closed her eyes and happily died. Since she made this choice, she would not regret it. But now Yun 11 not only failed to do what he asked, but she was speaking for those criminals. Everyone was silent. Hong Yan, your highness will see how you end this. Biwa City, which was originally very lively, was surprisingly quiet at this time. After Yun 11 closed her eyes, she seemed to see the boy smiling at her again. Do you want to die? Because at this time, the audience in the audience already showed suspicious eyes. Yun 11 was bewitched by people from the Wushuan Alliance. All the things she said were fabricated. Don't take it seriously. Your Highness, what are your orders? Suran, I said, I won't let you down, and I did it. This Yun 11, don't let her die too early. The later she dies, the better it is for us. The ideas they have been raised with tell them that this is not true. Haha, interesting and interesting. If so many people weren't watching, Hong Yan would have slapped her to death here. Could Yun 11 be lying? Lord Territory Lord, if I die, I can save tens of thousands of people. That's enough. The second prince said this with no intention of hiding anything from Hong Yan, and even gave Hong Yan a provocative look. In order to build momentum for Yungzi, he spent so many days making her into the goddess of Biwu, just so that all the people could petition His Majesty to kill all those guilty people. Hong Yan ignored him, but knocked Yun 11 unconscious with one palm and said to the audience and everyone watching the live broadcast, "Didn't you say that those criminals are cruel people and committed the most heinous crimes?" Ada. After Hong Yan finished speaking, he grabbed Yun 11 and flew away from here. Everyone at the scene looked at me and I looked at you, and they all left here talking. But there is no doubt that Yun 11's betrayal on the spot completely cut off Hong Yan's desire to call on all the people to petition and punish the guilty people. Is what Yun 11 said true? You. But he knew that he couldn't kill her now. If he killed her, the entire Northern Territory and even the people of the Sky Empire would doubt whether what Yun 11 said was true. Hong Yan was extremely angry. No one expected that things would develop like this. But why is what Yun 11 said different from what we heard? It's just, Yun 11 will never have the chance to see you again. Everyone looked at Yun 11 who was waiting for death with her eyes closed on the stage. For some reason, they felt that what she said was true. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 415. Your Highness, they are gone, what should we do next? Haha, how could you miss such a good opportunity? We must take this opportunity to disgrace Hong Yan. Let people spread the news that Hong Yan, the Lord of the Northern Territory, is suspected of colluding with the remnants of the Wushuan Alliance and those criminals. Hong Yan used the puppet Yun 11 to tell his true purpose, and his intentions are to be punished. The position of Northern Territory Lord must not be handed over to such an unknown person. Yes, Your Highness, I will do it immediately. In less than half a day. The entire northern region and even the main stars of the other three regions all saw what happened in Biwu City this morning. For a time, rumors spread, and people's hearts were restless. Almost everyone was discussing Yun 11 and whether everything she said was true. This incident even alarmed the Emperor Star. Emperor Star issued a direct order and must give a clear result within 3 days. All the upper echelons of the Sky and Sky Empire knew that what Yun 11 said was true. But this can't be true either. The result they wanted was that Yun 11 had lied and was making things up. Inside the Tianlao of Biwu City, Yun 11 was tied to a wooden frame, and her body was already covered with blood stains. If you take the initiative to tell the public that you are talking nonsense, we can spare your life. Even if you don't think about yourself, you should think about your parents and family, right? Do you want them to be buried with you? Hearing this, Yun 11's eyes filled with tears. She still remembers the scene when she saw her parents when she came back. This matter has nothing to do with them. You come to me, and I will take responsibility for the work alone. Yun 11 raised her head with difficulty. The makeup on her face was already covered with blood stains, and her lips were no longer red but turned white with cracks. It seems you won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Do you think that just because you said you did it yourself, you did it yourself? What if I insist that your parents taught you to say that? You are shameless. Yun 11 opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood, looking angrily at the interrogator in front of her. The interrogator wiped the blood on his face with his hand and said coldly, "I'll give you one more day to think about it. You'd better think carefully before making a choice. Take her back to the cell and put her next to her parents so they can get together." The jailer untied Yun 11 from the wooden frame, took her to a cell deep in the Sky Prison, locked the door and left. "Daughter, are you okay?" In the cell compartment where Yun 11 was, 2 men and women in their 40s were looking at Yun 11 with distressed expressions. "Why are you doing this? If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have let you be the patrol angel. It's all our fault." Yun 11 stood up from the ground weakly, walked to the 2 of them and knelt down. "Mom and Dad, It's your daughter's unfilial piety that has brought you down. The two sighed when they saw this. Oh, my daughter, is it worth it for you to do it for those criminals? Yoon 11 shook her head. Mom, they are not criminals, they are people like us. You. Well. If my dead daughter can save countless people, it will be worth it. I'm just hurting you. But don't worry, someone will come to save you. He will definitely come when he knows. I believe him. Daughter, who are you talking about? The two looked confused. This is the Biwutian Lao, the most heavily guarded place in the entire Northern Territory. The defense force is so powerful. Throughout the ages, countless people who wanted to rob the prison died at the door and could not even enter the Tian Lao. Who could save them? I am afraid that only the Sky Emperor himself can rescue them. Yoon 11 didn't say anything, just stared blankly at the ceiling of the cell. She knew that Surin had the ability to save her parents. As for her, I'm afraid she won't live to see Suren. I don't know if he is okay in Blood River. At this time, rumors were already spreading in the Northern Territory. The rumors spread by the second prince made the people suspect that the Northern Territory Lord was really having an affair with the Wushuan alliance. When Hong Yan heard the news, he directly cursed idiot. Obviously he knew that the second prince was causing trouble. The empire has no foreign enemies. It has been peaceful for too long. These people have no awareness of being prepared for danger in times of peace. Now you dare to suspect that the master of this domain is colluding with the remnants of the Wushuan alliance. Just when Hong Yan was angry, a guard walked in and bowed. Lord Territory Lord, urgent news from the Emperor Star. Read. Northern Territory Lord Hong Yan is currently trapped in the quagmire of public opinion. It is not suitable to rule the Northern Territory for the time being. The position of Northern Territory Lord is temporarily taken over by the second prince. He will be reinstated after the truth is found out. Upon hearing the news, Hong Yan punched out. Boom. At this time, the office door was opened, and the second prince led someone in. Master Hong, I believe you have also received the news from the Emperor Star. Next, the Northern Territory will be under the control of His Highness. Suren sighed. But the Territory Lord didn't let them withdraw, and they couldn't withdraw, so they could only stay here. If you were targeted by him, you didn't know how you would die. People who heard the news couldn't help but sigh. Everyone prepare. Everyone quickly fell silent. The entire titanium alloy building shook, and a wide gap appeared on the floor. Human Emperor's pen ×1, Earth Emperor's script ×1, Emperor's bell ×1. Kill Suren immediately when you see him, don't hold back. In just a few days, he had become a traitor to the empire and was about to suffer the punishment of Lingqi. The second prince is now in charge of the Northern Territory, which is not a good thing for us. That afternoon, Biwuchen announced that the traitor Yoon 11 Lingqi would be executed at noon tomorrow morning at the execution ground. Task requirements. Well, let's take it one step at a time. Your Majesty has not yet come out of seclusion. After your Majesty comes out of seclusion, everything will depend on your Majesty's wishes. It is said that this was suggested by the perverted second prince. Yongzi's matter will also be handled by my highness. Upon hearing this, Hong Yan just glanced at the second prince and left. Suren knew that these three things were the names of magic weapons without even thinking about them. After several days and nights of practice and absorption, Suren finally got the 7th turn mission issued by the system. The day before she was the goddess of Biwu, the pride of the Northern Territory, the so-called heroine. The two division chiefs stayed here for so many days that they felt that Suren had died in the river of blood. The two were overjoyed to see this and hurriedly ordered. Seeing this, Suren could only decide to return to the Northern Territory first. It's useless no matter how much we guess. While the two were chatting, the teleportation array from Blood River to Hongluan City lit up. Makes sense. Shh, you don't want your life, how dare you talk about him behind his back. But after asking Jingling, she didn't know where these three things could be found. The second prince's cruel temper was famous throughout the Sky and Sky Empire. If he really becomes the Northern Territory Lord, our position will definitely not be guaranteed, and he will definitely cultivate a large number of cronies. On the other side of the portal, inside Hongyuan City, Lingqi is executed. It is said that this is the torture of cutting off all the flesh of the prisoner one by one, and making the prisoner watch himself being cut to death with his own eyes. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 416. When the teleportation array's light reaches its peak, it means that the person on the opposite side has arrived. The people from the two departments stared closely at the teleportation array, and they would take action as soon as Suren appeared. However, something happened beyond their expectation. Why doesn't anyone come? Where are the people? Everyone looked at the teleportation array in confusion. Suren had actually come over, but these people couldn't see him. Ever since he taught Yun 11 those words, he had been prepared to be hunted down by these people. As long as they are not stupid, they will definitely block the teleportation array. So Suren used his words to transform himself into a living person in advance. No, there is someone on the teleportation array. The director of the inspectorate shouted. Although he couldn't see it with his eyes, he felt the presence of someone. Attack me. The director of the supervision department took the lead and clapped out. Seeing this, others followed suit. Countless skills and spells were thrown towards the teleportation array. After the smoke and dust passed, even the teleportation array was blown to pieces by them. He's up there. Everyone looked up and saw Suren standing in the air holding a knife, his eyes full of indifference. Now that you've been discovered, there's no need to pretend. You were the one who killed my grandson. The director of the supervision department looked at Suren angrily. Suren looked down at him without denying it. Yes, he killed so many people, I just avenged those innocent people. What? Your grandson's life is life, but other people's lives are not. The director of the supervision department looked up to the sky and roared. How can the despicable lives of those criminals be compared to that of my grandson? Today, I will send you down to make amends with my grandson. After you die, I will kill all the guilty people on that planet. Especially your relatives, I will slowly torture them to death. I want them to know that it was you who harmed them. Ha 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 ha. The director of the supervision department kept stimulating Suren, firstly to vent his anger, and secondly to prevent Suren from escaping. As long as a normal person hears these threats, he will definitely not run away. But what he didn't know was that Suren had no intention of leaving at all. He came back to the Northern Territory just to kill people. You are the director of the supervision department, right? This killing begins with you. Since you look down on the guilty people so much, today I will show you how the guilty people in your mouth killed your subordinates. It has to be said that the words of the director of the supervision department really stimulated Suren, causing Suren to suddenly change his mind. He did not want to kill all these people with one knife, but to let him know what powerlessness and fear meant. Keng. The sound of drawing a sword sounded. At the same time, a scream rang out from the crowd. An inspector from the supervision department fell to the ground, clutching his neck. This is the first one. Suren's unhurried voice sounded over Hongluan City. Next, you will witness with your own eyes how your subordinates die in front of you one by one. Suren drew his sword again, and another scream sounded from the crowd. Court death. The two division chiefs rose into the sky and headed towards Suren. It's useless. I want to kill someone and no one can stop me. The two of them jumped into the air, leaving only the sound left by Suren. Another scream sounded. The third. Suren's voice was like a ruthless god of death, constantly harvesting the lives of the people under the two divisions in the crowd. Ah! Little beast, I will kill you. If you have the guts, don't run away. The two division chiefs looked at their men lying in a pool of blood one by one, but they could do nothing. They couldn't catch Suren at all. The other party was teasing them with his unpredictable movement skills. 36. Suren's voice sounded again. At this time, the people in the two departments finally couldn't bear the torture and collapsed. They couldn't catch Suren at all. If the other party took action, one of them would die. They were afraid. As long as this devil-like voice sounded, one of them would die. The haze of fear spread among the crowd, and finally some people couldn't help but fled outside. Escape, is it useful? Suren's cold voice sounded. Today, you all have to die here. A dazzling sword light was slashed out, and the heads of all those who escaped were missing. The scene fell silent instantly. Only the desperate voices of the two division chiefs sounded. Little beast, you damn sinner, come at us if you can. Okay. You really think I can't kill you? Upon hearing this, the directors of the two divisions immediately activated their strongest postures in their full body armor. However, they still overestimate their own strength. When they saw Suren slaughtering his men like this, they thought that Suren did not dare to confront them head-on. But the result was that Suren's armor was cut through by Suren, along with their lower bodies. Suren did not kill them immediately, but appeared in mid-air and looked down at them. Now, do you still think I'm afraid of you? I said, I want you to know what powerlessness and fear are. At their level, they would not die without their lower body, but fear was unavoidable. The two endured the huge pain, and finally showed a look of fear in their eyes. It turned out that Suren didn't pay attention to them at all, he was just playing tricks on them. When you are tired of playing, you can go and die. Suren no longer chose to hunt one by one, but killed all the people in the two divisions with one blow. Suren, you must die a happy death. The two division chiefs watched as all the people they brought died here. There was nothing they could do, and now they could only roar and look at Suren angrily. Suren walked up to the two of them and said calmly, I don't know whether you will die or not, but you will definitely be killed by me, a criminal. I wonder what you two are thinking at this moment. You damn sin. Before the director of the supervision department had finished speaking, Suren had already sent him away with a knife. As for the other person, Suren also didn't let him go. At this point, all the directors of the two major departments in the Northern Territory and the men they brought with them died in Hongluan City. Suren glanced at the corpse on the ground, then looked towards the street corner not far away and said coldly, How long do you want to hide there? Haha, I misunderstood, Suren, one of our own. A middle-aged man walked out with his hands raised. Looking at the corpses scattered on the ground, a look of shock flashed across the middle-aged man's face. Huge waves surged in my heart. Damn it, those people above didn't say that Suren was so strong. The directors of these two departments were both at the top of the sixth realm, and they just died here. Who are you? Suren looked at him coldly and asked. Xiahua Bagui is nominally the city lord of Hongluan City, but in fact he is a member of the Wushuan Alliance. It's the Wushuan Alliance again. Is there a problem? Hu Bagui nodded quickly and said, Yes, and it's a major event related to you. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 417. Related to me. Tell me the story. Seeing Suren put away the knife, Hu Bagui breathed a sigh of relief. The patrolling angel named Yun 11 you captured will be executed by Ling Chi today. What did you say? How is it possible? Suren walked up to him and asked coldly. He had clearly shown Yun 11 a way to save her life, so why would something like this happen again? Seeing Suren's eyes, Hubagui shrank his neck in fear and said. Originally she was fine. At first she was called the goddess of Biwu, the hero of our northern territory. But during the live broadcast in the All-North region that day, she actually spoke up for the people on Blue Star, saying that she wanted everyone to treat the people on Blue Star fairly. Of course this is a good thing for us, but it makes Hong Yan, who has always advocated the annihilation of all criminals, very angry. She was thrown into the sky jail on the spot. Now that pervert, the second prince, has come to the Northern Territory. Not only has he taken away Hong Yan's power, but he also claims to bring Yun 11 to Lingqi. After hearing this, Suren rose into the sky. Hey, where are you going? Hubagui shouted. Save her. Suren only left these two words, and the figure had disappeared into Hongluan city. When Hubagui heard this, he waved his hands anxiously. Oh, you are indeed a reckless man. The other party must have laid a dragnet. Aren't you going to die? After Hubagui finished speaking, he looked at the corpses on the ground. It doesn't seem right, this guy is pretty awesome. Maybe we can rely on him to rescue Elder Mu. Hubagui immediately took out the communication equipment and told Suren, a member of the Wushuan Alliance in Biwu City, about his preparations to save people. Biwuchan execution ground. The people executed here are all traitors and evildoers who have committed heinous crimes. Now, outside the execution ground, there are already 3 floors inside and 3 floors outside filled with theatergoers. On the execution platform, Yun 11 knelt on the ground, her body covered in blood and stains, and she had long lost the beautiful appearance she had a few days ago. 3 suns in the sky scorched the earth, distorting the air near the execution platform. Under the scorching sun, everyone watched the girl on the execution platform and talked about it. Oh, what a pity. What a wonderful girl. Why would she do this for those criminals? For some reason, I always feel that what she said is true. So what if it's true or false? We're just ordinary people. There's nothing we can do to change it. Just accept our fate. If you don't accept your fate, you will only be executed by Lingqi like her. Everyone discussed for a while and sighed again. Yun 11, if you tell me that Territory Lord Hongyan forced you to say all this, I can consider sparing your life. What do you think? Look at the bones in your body. How painful it is to be stabbed one after another. Can you bear it? Besides, you look like this. If the flesh on your face is cut off piece by piece, how ugly will it become? The second prince walked up to him, knelt down and spoke slowly. As long as Yun 11 is willing to be this tainted witness, he will have a way to truly obtain the position of Lord of the Northern Territory. Pooh! Yun 11 raised her head and spat at him. Although she was speaking for those criminals, she was not going to lie for the pervert in front of her. The second prince wiped the saliva from his face, became angry and slapped him with his backhand. If you don't eat the toast, you will be punished with alcohol. If you don't know how to appreciate things, then you should die. Yun 11 was hit by the slap and fell to the execution platform, with a trace of blood flowing out of the corner of her mouth. The second prince stood up and walked to his seat and sat down, quietly waiting for the arrival of noon. Your Highness, Hongyan went to Tian Lao. The second prince's attendant came over and said softly. What did he do in Tian Lao? It seems that he is afraid that people from the Wushuan Alliance will take this opportunity to rob the prison. He also asked his subordinates to tell His Highness that people from the Wushuan Alliance might come to cause trouble. The second prince smiled disdainfully after hearing this. Wushuan Alliance. How dare those shady rats come to rob the law field? The second prince looked around and saw that the domain lords of the East and West domains were here, plus his own cronies. Who dares to come? Ada, you don't have to stay here, you can go to the prison and guard it for me. I think Hongyan wants to take the opportunity to let go of the elder of the Wushuan alliance. Yes, Your Highness. As time goes by, the air becomes hotter and drier. Your Highness, noon has arrived. One person reminded. The second prince glanced at the sky, reached out and picked up the supervisor card on the table in front of him and threw it out. Start the execution. Upon hearing this, the two executioners took out the knives they had prepared and walked to Yun 11, then tied her to the wooden frame and fixed her to prevent her from struggling and twisting. Your Highness, where to begin? Asked the two executioners. My face, I like to see this kind of beautiful face being cut off with a knife. That feeling, I think, is extremely beautiful. Looking at Yun 11, who had been tortured in his arms for a long time, Suren felt an anger he had never felt before in his heart. Who dares to come here and cause trouble if you don't have any skills? If they stay here, they will definitely be affected by the aftermath of the battle. Two falls to the ground were heard. Sorry, I am late. Thousands of people fell down, and blood flowed across the execution platform. Yun 11 had tears in her eyes, shook her head slightly and said. In the far corner, the two of them took a furtive glance at the situation here, and then took out the communicator and said. A voice without any emotion sounded at the execution platform. The two executioners nodded, took out their blades and cut Yun 11's face. The two domain masters from the east and west looked at each other, and their bodies were immediately covered in armor. Facing the siege of these people, Suren just waved his knife casually. If you dare to rob the law field, I will make him pay the price. The two executioners fell to the ground. Two territory lords, please take action to catch this person. Before the blades in the hands of the two executioners touched Yun 11's face, they paused on the spot. I'm very happy if you can come. When Yun 11 heard this voice, her closed eyes instantly opened and she looked up into the sky with a look of surprise. Suren. Then he attacked Suren from the left and right. Suren has already taken action, you can take action now. Since Suren said he would take Yun 11 to kill people, he was not prepared to let the people here go. The second prince looked at Suren and narrowed his eyes slightly. Thump. Next, I'll take you to kill someone. The soldiers guarding the execution ground had already come to kill him. A figure appeared beside her, holding her tightly in his arms. At this time, the crowd was already in chaos, and a group of people rushed to escape outside the execution ground. Suren hugged her around the waist and whispered. Lying in Suren's arms, her eyes were filled with satisfaction. They are not stupid. People who dare to rob the court in front of so many people are definitely ruthless people. Who dares to touch her? Yun 11 nodded weakly, she could not say any more words. The rope that tied Yun 11 loosened, and her body went limp and fell down from the wooden frame. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 418. Biwa City Tian Lao. This place has long been built like an iron barrel. The entire Tian Lao is located in an underground fortress, and the exterior of the fortress is made of the strongest super alloy in the Sky and Sky Empire. Its thickness is as high as 300 meters. Even a strong person in the upper 8 realms would need dozens of bombardments to break the outer alloy armor. But if you really do this, it will only shock all the people in the prison to death. Therefore, it is basically impossible to rob a prison and save people. And this is just an external defense structure. There are various agencies inside. It is impossible to enter if you are not familiar with the road and do not have access instructions. The outside of the fortress is not empty. There is an army composed of thousands of people from the upper 3 realms and above stationed here all year round. They stay outside day and night, and any slightest movement will attract their attention and sound the alarm. My illusion can only last for a quarter of an hour. If you exceed this time, you won't be able to get out. A group of people from the Wushuan Alliance gathered outside the prison. Their goal was to rescue their elder Mu. These people were just about to take action when they heard a cold voice behind them. Remnants of the Wushuan Alliance, I have been waiting for you for a long time. The group of people were startled and looked behind them. Hongyan. Hongyan and a group of people appeared behind them at some unknown time. Hongyan waved his hand. Catch them all and keep them alive. Just as the two sides were about to take action, a loud noise was heard. Everyone was startled and looked towards the direction of the explosion. Lord Territory Lord, this is the direction of the execution ground. Hongyan looked at the high bulging mushroom cloud, and suddenly felt an unprecedented sense of fear in his heart. Brother Bai was forced to blow himself up. Who is the other party? The brother Bai that Hongyan spoke of was Bai Kaiuzi, the lord of the western region among the four major regions of the Kongtian Empire. He could feel that Bai Kaiuzi's aura disappeared at that moment. Boom! Another loud noise came. Brother Cheng. Hongyan could no longer keep calm at this time. How could anyone force two domain masters to self-destruct in succession? Could it be that the Dragon Emperor left the restricted area? Lord Territory Lord, what should we do? The guards behind Hongyan were already a little panicked when they heard Hongyan's words. Hongyan glanced at the people from the Wushuan Alliance in front of him and smacked them away. Boom! This sudden blow almost wiped out the team of more than a dozen people. Leave the rest to the guards, let's go. Lord Territory Lord, where are we going? Are we going to the execution ground to provide support? His guard asked. Support is nothing. I haven't recovered from my injury yet, and I was never a match for the opponent in the past. Go to the Emperor Star and ask your majesty to take action. Hongyan ran away with his men. That's right, the Northern Territory Lord ran away so decisively. After the East Territory Lord was forced to self-destruct, he knew that the opponent's strength was definitely not something he could deal with. So he fled the Northern Territory without thinking for a moment. This is the execution ground. Hundreds of miles around have been razed to the ground. I don't know how many people who didn't escape died here due to the aftermath of the battle. Only half of the magnificent Biwa city was bombed. In areas that were not destroyed by the bombing, those high-rise buildings could not withstand the shockwave and fell down. There was chaos everywhere in Biwa city. The most prosperous city in the northern region was destroyed in one fell swoop. Ahem. Most of the armor on the second prince's body fell off with a crash. He lay on the ground and vomited blood before reluctantly standing up. The two domain lords self-destructed one after another, and even he couldn't withstand the impact. As for the trusted bodyguards he brought, they had already died in the first self-destruction of the Western Territory Lord. The second prince raised his head and looked at the unharmed young man in the air, his eyes full of horror and fear. Why? Why couldn't the self-destructions of the two domain lords hurt him? Who are you? Suren hugged Yun 11 and slowly fell to the ground. He did not look at the second prince, but looked at Yun 11 and asked. Did he hit you? Still want to kill you? Yun 11 nodded slightly. She no longer knows what kind of strength Suren is. When Suren came to save her, she was very happy and excited. But she wanted Suren to leave quickly. Because the two domain masters from the east and west were also here, she was afraid that Suren wouldn't know. But she no longer had the energy to speak, and it was difficult to even nod and shake her head. If Suren hadn't given her a few spirit stones to restore her strength, she would have passed out now. However, the two domain masters who were usually aloof and overwhelming all living beings were like chickens in front of Suren. Even if he blew himself up, he couldn't hurt Suren. At this moment, in Yun 11's heart, she even felt that the man in front of her was invincible. There is probably no difference between all living beings in his eyes. She could only experience this unprecedented sense of security by staying with Suren. Looking at the miserable state of the second prince on the ground, Yun 11 knew that Suren was venting her anger. You are the first person who can eat me 30 times before dying. Don't worry, there is no defense that I can't break. Suren walked up to the second prince and stabbed him in the thigh. Suren stabbed his other leg again. Hearing this and looking at Suren's confident eyes, Yun 11 seemed to see the invincible young man just now again. Tian Lao. You show me the way and I will take you to rescue them. Puff. Suren smiled slightly and comforted her. Suren looked around, hugged her and flew in the direction she pointed. Yun 11 glanced at Suren movedly, and then said weakly. Hearing Suren's words, the second prince's eyes widened. Emperor Sky and Sky. So what, it will be his turn next. Ha 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 ha. Otherwise, he would have killed him with one knife. Suren looked at him calmly and said. What? But it's difficult to penetrate directly into the defense of Tian Lao. Looking at his body, Suren said calmly. Ignorant idiot, who do you think you are? Do you know that my father is the Emperor of Sky and Sky? The pain made him kneel down. But the second prince still said arrogantly. You want to kill my father? Yun 11 nodded. After receiving Yun 11's affirmative reply, Suren said softly. Then he laughed crazily and said, ha ha ha. I will avenge you. Suren, my parents are still in the prison. How can my father's strength be compared to a waste like you? You dare to hurt me. Pulling out the knife, Suren followed the same pattern and stabbed him 30 times in a row, each time making him scream. At this time, Yun 11 absorbed the energy of the spirit stone and finally had the strength to speak. Well, I believe you. Finally, the second prince couldn't bear it anymore, closed his eyes, and fell to the ground with the same arrogant and twisted smile. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 419. At this time, outside the Biwu Tian Lao, many soldiers guarding the outside were staring in the direction of Biwu City. What happened in the city? I just saw the territory lord walking in another direction. He did not go to Biwu City. Why is this? Master Warden, are we going to provide support? Everyone looked at the leader and asked. The warden shook his head. Notify everyone to withdraw into the sky prison and defend. Even the domain lord ran away, are they going to die? Now relying on Tian Lao, no matter who the other party is or what their purpose is, there is a chance to save the lives of himself and others. When everyone heard this, they grabbed the few Wushuan Alliance people they had just captured and retreated into the prison. After a while, Suren arrived here under Yun 11's guidance. Biwu Tian Lao, irrelevant personnel, please evacuate immediately. A mechanical voice sounded. Then countless laser cannons were aimed at Suren and the two in the air. This is Biwu Tian Lao's automatic defense system. Yun 11 explained. If they don't move away within 10 seconds of hearing the warning sound, they will begin to lock on and attack. At this time, the warning sound sounded again. However, before the 10 seconds mentioned by Yun 11 came, those laser cannons had already been fired. Boo-hoo! Suren, be careful. The people inside should have launched an attack in advance after discovering us. Suren easily dodged these incoming lasers, and then chopped off all the laser cannons on the ground with one knife. The people hiding in the sky prison broke out in cold sweat when they saw this scene. This person was so strong that their external defense system was destroyed in just an instant. Master Warden, isn't that girl the same Yun 11 who was pushed to the execution ground and executed? What happened in Biwa City must have been done by the young man who took action just now. Why did they come to attack our prison? The warden glanced at Yoon 11 and immediately guessed their intentions, and then said in a deep voice. Catch Yoon 11's parents. They must be here to save people. Although he didn't quite believe that the other party could penetrate Tian Lao's defense. But beware. At least it would be safer to have a hostage in hand. At this time, Suren was looking at the external structure of the Tian Lao, thinking about where to cut it open. Yoon 11, are your parents locked up at the bottom? That'll be easy. Suren picked up the knife and slashed it sideways. Then Suren reached out and pushed through the air. The top of the entire Tian Lao was like the lid of a mineral water bottle being unscrewed, revealing the vast space below, as well as a group of Tian Lao guards looking up at it with confused expressions. The prison they claimed to be unbreakable was cut off with a knife. Even the warden was scared to death at this time. He knew that this young man was very strong, otherwise the territory lord would not have left Biwa City alone. But this is too strong. When did the super alloy used to build Tian Lao become so fragile? Suren ignored the shock of these people and rushed to the bottom with Yoon 11. When the guards reacted and were about to take action, Suren looked over and immediately frightened them so much that they dared not move. On the bottom floor of the Sky Jail, the team that had been ordered to come to fetch someone had just opened the cell door and were about to take Yoon 11's parents out, when a cold voice sounded behind them. If you want to die, just touch them. When several people heard this voice, they slowly turned their heads. After seeing Suren and the two of them, they immediately did not dare to move. Team, Captain, they. What captain? Stop talking. The leading captain broke out in cold sweat and interrupted his men's words with a slap. If this person came in so quickly, wouldn't that mean that the warden and others guarding the first floor were all dead? When he thought of this, he became even more frightened, fearing that the young man would stab him. When Yoon 11 saw her parents, she recovered some of her strength and ran up. Daughter, you are not dead. The two were already in despair, but they didn't expect to see their daughter appear in front of them. The feeling of being lost and found made them think it was a dream. My daughter is not dead. It was Suren who saved me. Suren. The two of them looked at the young man holding the knife, seeming to realize something. Is this the person you said changed your life? We understand. Are you doing all this for him? I did it to save those people. No. Not for him. Yoon 11's voice became softer and softer, until finally it was almost inaudible. The two of them have lived together for decades, and as people who have lived there, how can they not understand what their daughter is thinking? The two just sighed and said nothing more. This was their daughter's choice, and they couldn't say anything more. By the way, how did you get into the prison? Yoon 11's parents were so excited when they saw Yoon 11 just now that they ignored it. But now that I think about it, I suddenly feel something is wrong. It was Suren who led me all the way in. What? Killed in? This is a prison. You guys should leave quickly. This incident must have alarmed the territory lord. If he comes, you won't be able to leave. Father, mother, it's okay. With Suren here, the territory lord is no match for him. Hearing this, the group of guards who were standing there either walking or not, lowered their heads lower. So arrogant, these people started chatting in the prison. Forget it, the territory lords have all run away, let them be arrogant for a while, and don't notice us. When Yoon 11's parents heard Yoon 11's words, their eyes changed when they looked at Suren again. Isn't even the territory lord a match for the young man in front of him? No wonder his daughter would do these lifeless things for him. Boys and girls always admire the strong. Not to mention a strong man who looks so young. While several people were chatting, a surprised voice came from the dark cell in the distance. Suren, is it really you? Help me. Suren walked over following the sound and found an old man chained by more than a dozen super alloy chains. He was asking for help. "Who are you?" Suren looked him over and found that he didn't recognize him. "I am an elder of the Wushuan Alliance, and my surname is Mu. I heard that you were surrounded in the Biwa restricted area, so I took people to rescue you. Unexpectedly, I fell into the trick of that bitch Hong Yan, and was captured and imprisoned here." Suren slashed open the cage and walked in. "I'm really going to go to the restricted area to rescue you, you believe me?" He had been tortured for several days, and now that he saw the hope of being rescued, if he had not been chained, he would have knelt down and begged Suren. "I didn't say I wouldn't save you. It just so happens that I owe you a favor. I can repay it by saving you this time." Without Hu Bagui in Hongluan City telling him about Yun 11, Suren would have missed the time to save Yun 11. Originally, Suren didn't want to have anything to do with the Wushuan Alliance. This was just the right time to save Elder Mu, so he was able to clear both sides. Although he didn't know what kind of favor Suren owed the Wushuan Alliance, Elder Mu quickly thanked him. "Thank you, I will remember your kindness. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife." Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 420. I've made it clear. I don't need you to remember any kindness. Suren swung his knife to cut off the chains on his body. Seeing Suren's operation, Elder Mu was shocked again. This super alloy chain coupled with the rune array on it, even he couldn't break free. Judging from Suren's appearance, it seemed that he cut it off without any force at all. "I've cut off the chains on your body for you, why don't you leave?" Suren looked at him strangely. "This," Elder Mu said a little embarrassedly. "This is Biwutian Lao. I'm afraid I won't be able to get out on my own." He is still seriously injured and has no idea what happened outside or how Suren got in. In his opinion, only by following Suren can he have a chance to go out. Suren smiled when he heard this. "Then you follow us?" Okay, thank you very much." Suren took him, called Yun 11 and her parents and walked slowly outside the prison. This scared Elder Mu. "Isn't this too arrogant? Are you robbing a prison or strolling through the back garden? You are really not afraid of being blocked at the door." After arriving at the first level, the defense forces from Tianlao had already fled. Nowadays, Biwa Tianlao is unguarded and has become a decoration. Looking at the Tianlao with its roof cut off, Elder Mu was already numb. He finally knew why Suren could cut off the chains on his body with just one knife. Emotional guy even cut off the top of Tianlao's head with a knife. Elder Mu looked at the people walking in front talking and laughing, thinking in his heart, "Is this guy still human? The Alliance's intelligence about him is wrong." After walking out of the prison, Suren looked back at Elder Mu who was still following him. "Senior, aren't you leaving yet? Now the Northern Territory is leaderless, you can leave with peace of mind." "Ah. You killed Hong Yan too." Hong Yan didn't see him, but he killed a second prince and 2 domain lords from the east and west domains. Hearing these plain words, Elder Mu almost knelt down to Suren on the spot. He knows that Suren is very brave, but you are too brave. Forget about the 2 domain lords of the east and west domains, how dare you kill the second prince? Are you really not afraid that the Sky Emperor will kill you personally? Little friend Su, I take the first step. Elder Mu didn't dare to stay any longer. He could have run away earlier. If what Suren said is true, the Sky and Sky Empire will be furious next. He could already imagine the scene of a river of blood. He had to go back and report the matter quickly. After Elder Mu left, Suren looked at Yun 11's family, thought for a while and said, "How about I send you to hide in a restricted area for a few days? Now that there is no one in charge of the entire Northern Territory, there will definitely be chaos. It will not be safe for you to go home. I will send you to the restricted area. By the way, I want to discuss some matters with the Dragon Emperor. A country cannot be left without a master for a day. This is the same everywhere. Suren wanted to destroy the Sky Empire, but he also wanted to re-establish a force to take over its territory. Otherwise, it would not only be the ordinary people in the Sky and Sky Empire who would be unlucky, but also those in the exiled land would be unlucky. Restricted area? That's the territory of the demon clan. Yoon 11's parents were a little worried. Didn't they go in to deliver food rations to those monsters? Father and mother, don't worry. Suren has a good relationship with the monster emperor. We will be fine. He has a good relationship with the monster emperor. The two looked at Suren in shock again. I have to say that even though they had not been together for long, they already subconsciously felt that this guy was good. Looking at Suren already feels a bit like looking at a son-in-law. Suren, shall we fly over? Yoon 11 asked. Need not. Suren directly dug a wormhole on the spot, reaching the outside of the restricted area. With the coordinates, Suren didn't need to spend so much time at all. However, it is still not possible to use wormholes to reach the restricted area directly. Suren couldn't figure out the reason for that inexplicable restriction. Outside the Biwa restricted area. After Suren and his party arrived here through the wormhole, a group of monsters immediately surrounded them. Recently, the Dragon Emperor ordered strict defense, but they didn't expect to encounter a situation today. Huh? Wait a minute, it looks familiar. Brothers, don't do anything yet. The leader of the little tiger demon looked at Suren carefully, and then exclaimed. After Tiger Master knew that Suren was coming, he specially held a feast to welcome Suren. Suren nodded. I can't stay here for a long time. Sooner or later I have to go to the Heaven Realm. I have killed many of the high-ranking officials in the Northern Territory, and now they are leaderless. Are you, the demon race, interested in occupying the Northern Territory? After Suren said so much, they also understood that Suren wanted to hand over the territory of the Sky and Sky Empire to them. It's Mr. Su. I think you have misunderstood. I am not here to cooperate with you and destroy the Sky and Sky Empire together. I am here to let you take over the territory of the Sky and Sky Empire. This, little demon, I'm not at a high level, so I don't know. I'm not prepared to let you and the Dragon Emperor take action. Of course it's true. The Lord of the East and West Territories is dead. Not only the Northern Territory, but also the East and West Territories will be in chaos. Even Lord Dragon Emperor can't guarantee that he can be killed 100%. Okay, lead the way. But Mr. Su, although you can kill the domain lords of the two regions, the Sky and Sky Emperor is not a simple person. Master Su, why are you here? Do you have any instructions? Someone has to take over this place. Rather than giving it to someone else, it's better to give it to you. The little tiger demon instantly became extremely enthusiastic. Tiger Lord asked, holding up his wine glass. Hearing this, the demons were shocked. Don't worry, Mr. Su. Among other things, ensuring their safety is not a big deal. But I don't know when Mr. Dragon Emperor will come back. Does Mr. Su have anything to do with Mr. Dragon Emperor? The last time Suren heard that the Dragon Emperor was going to take the Ice Dragon King back to his ancestral land to accept the inheritance of the Dragon Clan, so many days had passed and he didn't know if he had returned. But doing so is tantamount to declaring war on 10,000 Dao's immortal palace. When you see Suren, you must treat him with the highest etiquette of the demon clan. Anyone who dares to neglect will be punished. There had been orders from above, and Suren's portraits were distributed to every monster with spiritual intelligence. I'll take you to see Lord Tiger, he must know. Suren smiled when he heard this. After knowing that Suren wanted to temporarily place Yoon 11's family in the restricted area, he agreed immediately. The demons thought that Suren wanted to unite with other demon clans to deal with the Sky Emperor. Hearing this, all the big demons cast their eyes wide open. Come over. The little tiger demon led Suren and his party deep into the restricted area. The Dragon Emperor probably wouldn't dare agree to this easily. This way, even if Wandeo Immortal Palace asks, you can explain it clearly. Master Su, are you telling the truth? Is the Dragon Emperor back? What's more, there is that behemoth on top of the Sky Empire, the 10,000 Deo Immortal Palace.